The theme park simulation genre hasn't seen much light in recent years. Out of those golden era remains though comes a reimagining of the concept from Frontier, the makers of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. So the excitement behind the pedigree is both deserved and understandable. So how does the reality measure up to the fantasy? Let's take a look. Though a little rough around the edges, Screamride has a clean, uniform look which works in perfect contrast to the mayhem within. The game takes place in a somewhat futuristic setting wherein your job is to test out various theme park safety measures in order to help the Screamworks company achieve their goals. What those goals are? You'll have to play to find out, but the robotic portalesque instructor coupled with the fleet of uniform employees creates an air of unsettling intrigue. The cutscenes at the beginning and end of each level are a nice touch, if unvaried, and add a bit of humour into the mix. The crash test dummy suited subjects are more than happy to be thrown from slings inside of capsules for your amusement, and their enjoyment is reflected in their faces as they turn to you whilst controlling the roller coaster and cheer at you. From time to time I've encountered a frame rate issue, but nothing that negatively impacts the game to a noticeable extent. The problem with the art style in my opinion is that it's sometimes bland. Whilst the different locations allow for more interesting backdrops as you progress, the buildings you're destroying, the vehicles you're using, and the overall look just falls a little flat for me. The minimal options when it comes to visuals in the creation aspect are in line with what the game is, but that doesn't make it enjoyable for me to witness in this regard. Let me be clear that this doesn't mean there's a lack of customization overall. There are a great deal of customizable pieces to utilise, but they all feel relatively similar. You could indeed build any shape you'd like to a certain degree, but it'd look as uniform as the rest of the game does, and I like to be able to tinker with such things. This could be fixed quite simply with downloadable packs, quite like Minecraft skins, but for now it remains a minor issue from my perspective. For all it's capable of, visually it can feel a little empty. For those of you with a much greater imagination than I have, however, you may be satisfied with a decent amount of things you can build and find yourself gazing in awe at what I could never achieve. On a more positive note, the audio is enjoyable. The main theme gets you pumped up and ready to go, the screams of the riders as they plunge into buildings and the swoosh of helicopters as you enter a level, the sound of the coaster climbing up steep parts of the track, the park PA system coming through from time to time, it all adds something to boost the atmospheric fun. Screamride shines through in the gameplay department, and what I found it lacking in visual variety it more than makes up for in the array of ways to play. Whilst not what I'd expected, it's a great variation. There are three main modes in the career mode of Screamride. The first is Scream Rider, putting you in direct control of the coaster, wherein your goal is to reach the end of the course with the highest amount of points in the shortest amount of time. Points are achieved through hitting turbo boost tracks or landing jumps with the X button prompts at the correct time, pulling off extended two-wheel balancing acts, and generally maintaining a high speed. The game will also give you bonus goals to achieve to gain a higher score. It's the most accessible mode in the game, probably the easiest, and I found it to be the most enjoyable. The second is Demolition Expert. Utilising a variety of passenger cabins, your aim is to launch them via a sling at the weak points of structures and bring them crumbling down. Additional goals range from shooting through bonus rings and targets to chaining pure destruction via the use of explosives. You're limited to a certain amount of throws before the game ends and becomes your final score. You can also choose to end the level yourself and receive a bonus for each remaining throw you have. I initially became immersed in this mode, and the challenges get more interesting the deeper you get, but the poor guiding line for the throw prediction turns it into more of a guessing game. It could do with some improvement. The third and final mode of the career section is Engineer. You must complete the roller coaster track using the editing tools at your disposal and fulfill the conditions specified by the game beforehand. You gain higher scores by ensuring all of your passengers make it to the end, creating particularly interesting track designs, and ultimately being the greatest engineer you can be. The game will have you fulfilling criteria such as keep passenger nausea beneath 4, ensuring that your designs can't just be any flimsy old thing. You have to consider the goals. Fans of the more traditional Roller Coaster Tycoon will find themselves very at home here. In each of these modes, a higher score means commendations. Commendations allow you to access the next area once you've gained enough of them. Commendations are kept separate for each game type, so that if, say, you don't enjoy demolition as much as you do engineer, you can still advance in the engineer levels without having to fulfill the other two modes' criteria for advancement. On top of this is the sandbox mode. As the name suggests, it's a box full of sand. And I'm only joking. It's a virtual playground where you can let your imagination run wild. It allows for a variety of construction options, background scenery, multiple platform bases, all types of variable slings from the demolition expert, all of the roller coaster construction techniques from engineer, and the ability to try out anything you build. Whilst the rest of the game eases you in greatly with really intuitive tutorials throughout, Sandbox almost assumes you've done the career mode. On the plus side, there are plenty of button prompts on screen to roughly guide you through what you're doing. Once you get the hang of it though, it's the best and most traditional mode in the game, if for nothing else other than the pure freedom you have of your creations. It's worth noting that in order to unlock all of the creation options, you need to achieve a higher commendation in career mode via the 3 aforementioned game types, and each time you level up you receive new options for sandbox mode. The game is highly enjoyable and adds enough new elements as you progress to keep it interesting, but not entirely fresh, and it gets particularly difficult about midway through in certain modes, almost out of nowhere. Some may enjoy the challenge, but I found it off-putting to be thrown in the deep end so suddenly. You've got to let the hot bath cool down before you jump in, otherwise you get burned. The controls themselves are intuitive. I never had much trouble aside from the occasional camera issues in engineer mode. Some of the camera angles can be awkward at times, but the ability to snap or smooth build, allowing you to auto-structure somewhat, or adjust specifically to your liking the roller coaster track you're building, is a great feature and works very well with the analog stick's precision input. Frontier reinvents the theme park simulation genre with Screamride, whether intentional or not, with a truly fresh iteration of what we've come to expect and haven't had for so long. The casual gamer may find themselves getting halfway through and giving up due to the difficulty spike, or perhaps spending more time in Sandbox. But the hardcore will find much to achieve in the form of the commendation system, leaderboards, and the general high scores in all of the career modes levels. It offers vast replay value through the aforementioned scoring systems and freedom of its sandbox, and if it simply adds some colour variety to the pieces you can use, I'd be more invested in the buildings I'm so bad at constructing. I recommend a purchase if you think you're up to it, but don't go in expecting to manage a park. Screamride is available exclusively for Microsoft platforms and is available in the United Kingdom as of tomorrow, Friday the 6th of March. I've been David Game here for My Games Lounge. Be sure to tune into all of our content, we got a lot of stuff going on, and thank you for watching the video review or reading the written review, whichever one you prefer. Let us know what you think, and until next time, bizzle!